question is, how should you use discrimination of these higher influences without losing a foothold in this world and becoming detached? As background, you say that your intensity for, quote, hating this world and the egos all around me, including my own, and now their pettiness, has increased. You say you feel like a robot going through the motions in this world, allowing and accepting what is without much desire to climb the corporate ladder, or care for much that used to excite me. Understand this, you are going through a transition. You're having the blinders removed. You're seeing from new perspectives. You're breaking free from a certain sense of identity and of what constitutes reality. And the natural thing to do is to step back, be horrified at what it really is, see it for what it is. However, understanding, meaning knowledge plus being equals understanding, according to fourth way teachings, knowledge of why things are as they are, of the state of human sleep, of the necessity for a certain kind of essentially esoteric hidden inner work to break us out of it, even though that is the whole point of spirituality. Nevertheless, it is esoteric because the exoteric, the surface, has gone in such an opposite direction. And only bits and pieces of the truth it is meant to convey, the teachings, the instructions, can be found. And so people are left in a state of confusion, of oppression, of restriction, without any idea that there is an inner journey of discovery to be had. That when the Master says, cleanse the inside of the cup, he is not giving us a poetic platitude. It is a cosmic teaching for the secret that all philosophy and spirituality of the ages has been seeking. How do you break into the fullness, the plenitude of existence, and find the authenticity of what you are? The mystery, just to come closer to it without understanding it, and yet being devoted to it. Devoted to the beauty of the goodness and purity that is sensed through the deeper teachings, through the revelations, through what has been passed on to us, sometimes at incredible cost. And it is for us to find it, to seek until we find it, to keep trusting that inner compass. And when we find something that actually is real, it begins the process of transformation. Certainly we wish to flee this world. We wish to live in a deep peace and silence and humility, get away from the noise and pollution and hyperstimulus that merely reflects the inner state of humanity. Chaotic, fragmented, manic, narcissistic, hedonistic, godless, on and on and on. And of course there are pockets of goodness, and more importantly, our duty ultimately, our purpose is to help out in some way, whatever it is, however small, while we yet live. But we cannot help out if we are as broken and fragmented and lost and confused as everyone else. An exoteric religion gives us something to hold on to, a dogma handed down from truly illumined souls of the past. And yet, instantly, as it enters matter, it becomes institutional, regimented, obligatory, all of the things that are not spirit. Immediate misunderstanding, catastrophic free fall into ignorance, prejudice, separation, everything that the Christ spoke against and came to illumine another path. The teachings are there to be found, and they must be applied in the practical way that enters into our own intimate psychology, daily life, and begins to bring some kind of new perspective beyond belief, beyond intellect, an organically felt sense of the reality that is greater than we are and which has given us life that we are connected to, and how we have been hypnotized and brainwashed in 1,000 ways by humanity's pride and ignorance, to begin to be liberated, to begin to see for oneself through the veils of misinterpretation. This is what the deeper teachings do for us. And so they take us to unknown territory. And as we move from one stage to another, we are going to have different kinds of dramatic experiences. Rejection of this world, truly called out of it, to breathe the air and the wisdom of a vaster world. And perhaps we stay there for a long time, or perhaps it is just enough to give us the insight, motivation, burning desire to go back into the world of sleeping humanity and do what we can. Triage, even. Bring something of that other world, of that higher wisdom, of that greater truth into the human condition, that someone may find healing, soothing, peace, illumination, liberation from the darkness that is everywhere present. But that higher consciousness, that higher world, that greater insight helps us to also know that the good is ever present. So know that the time will come when hating this world becomes compassion for this world that one, for oneself, wants nothing to do with. In other words, not live like. And yet, perhaps, depending on one's capacity, destiny, accompany others along the way. Let one child know that there is unconditional love for them in this world, that they don't have to do or be anything to be seen, loved, delighted in, appreciated. Even that passing moment, never to be recorded in history, is enough for divine mission in this world. So you go on to say you feel like a robot. Eventually you will see how you can integrate that way of the smart one, the rusé, fox-like, who learns how to transmute this life into manna, into food that helps one awaken, evolve, see, understand continually, rather than be robot. Yet another stage, become that conscious person who applies true personality, as Gurdjieff calls it, intentional personality, conscious act, to function in the world and make it work to its maximum for your purposes, which one wants to assume are spiritual awakening, love of God, good in the world. But good in the world is complicated. You have to live, you have to pay the rent, you have to work with others who are not interested in the good for this world. And so you move about with this knowledge of sleeping creatures, of black holes of selfishness everywhere, of terrified people, crippled people, of systemic trouble, because everything is rooted in godlessness or simple ignorance, simple confusion of this three-dimensional world with ultimate reality. So don't be a robot, be a conscious presence. Make use of it for yourself. Use the conflict for food for understanding yourself and the other. Use moments of presence that bring beauty into your space, regardless of what circumstance you're in. Be creative. The art of personal transformation. Maurice Nicole, who would leap out of bed excited to meet the day for these opportunities. Or, in the more religious, shall we say, approach, the delight to encounter spirit, to hear from spirit, to witness spirit, to commune throughout the day, overcoming one's distractions, one's reactions, one's automatic tendencies, to find those vivid moments full of the greater life, luminous, shimmering. It's all there to be found. We have to be conscious, we have to be open, we have to be free. So don't let this higher knowledge lead you into a direction that is shut off from that kind of delight and openness and spontaneity and creativity, and using the most bleak or ordinary thing or negative thing for a higher purpose. Alchemically live the moments of your life. Be the alchemist, transmute, turn friction into fuel for consciousness. This is what we get from Gurdjieff, from Fourth Way, and ultimately from the ancient teachings of Christianity, contained in the Philokalia, contained in the teachings to the monks, the ladder of divine ascent, the great names of our mother tradition. It's there to be found. The trouble is, once you enter those waters, then you find people with robes and funny hats, and it gets confusing. Of course it does. And that's part of our work, to get through the confusion, to figure it out for ourselves, ultimately. That's what we've been given this mind for, this heart for. And we are spirit-led as we stay true to that inner hunger, inner need, inner nostalgia. You say as you look away from this world, you're discriminating more influences upon you. You don't get caught up in the drama of wars, politics, arguments, even leisures. That's non-identifying. You say these higher influences are without question more fine yet confusing So I want to spend more time sitting them out to make sense of them. So keep it simple. Don't try to make sense, just try to experience. Just make yourself available. Take those moments of silence, those walks. They are life-giving, life-changing. Those moments dedicated to simple quiet, simple silence, simple receptivity, simple presence. Let these higher influences tell you what this is all about. Feeling, sensation, goosebumps. When I am weak, then I am strong, says the first mystic of Christianity, St. Paul. Ultimately, yes, you will be putting it together for your own understanding holistically, but let it wash over you. Open the door and let yourself be found, says Karl-Fried Graf Dürkheim. That's it. Take time to let yourself be found. Be in a state of listening. Hear, O Israel. I learned this from Rachel Gottman. The Shema, the daily prayer. Hear, listen. Said down through the centuries every day by countless faithful souls, having an organic, psychological, existential, physiological, psychological sense, meaning, purpose. Be alert to your existence. The robot thing, if you must for a time work automatically on the things that you no longer have the same connection to, be sure that beyond the robot is something very awake and alive, in tune with the shades of the sunlight coming through the window, with the sounds, with life. Pay attention. Be present. That is the teaching. And in being present, you become communicated with. And new event horizons appear in your sight, in your psychic sight. Undiscovered country is revealed to you more and more until you find that magnificent way of living in that conscious awareness with your feet firmly planted in the here and now, in the sensations, because the sensations themselves speak to you of these high dimensions, of the Holy One, the scent of cut grass, the autumn leaves on the ground, the coming rain. All of this is spiritual communication. We are priests of creation. This is part of our identity, of our capacity to be in this world. And then heaven and earth come together, as the ancient church says is the purpose of the gathering for the divine liturgy, the coming together of heaven and earth in mystical communion. Then that becomes our daily life.